Daydream has finally been slept, pun intended. Back in July, I published a video on a dreamcore themed horror game known as Daydream. As some of you already know, I gave my very critical analysis on the overall project, which was more of a marketing scheme than anything. I put the developer on blast in my first video. Juniper, the developer, came back with a video response attempting to defend himself, instead making it worse. I then made a second video debunking his video response, and now we have a video published by a YouTuber known as CutCafe. CutCafe's video has put a massive spotlight on Juniper's Daydream project, exposing a lot more shady stuff and going into even more depth on the things I covered in my video. That being said, his video is more than 2 hours long, which just goes to show how much there is to say about Juniper's bullshit scam game, if you can even call it a game. So what I'm going to do is quickly paraphrase the important points on what both me and CutCafe have exposed on Daydream so far. Then I'll go over his recent upload addressing concerns about Daydream, which in my opinion is just a rushed out and insincere apology video. As most of you already know, if you've seen either CutCafe's video or my original video on Daydream, Juniper has spam marketed his game with over 180 shorts in under a year. At the time of discovering Juniper's channel, where he showcased Helio as one of Daydream's entities, I was genuinely interested in following the project further. However, as time went on, it became very clear that Juniper was deliberately spamming a lot of his old Daydream videos that did good algorithmically. This time with minor differences such as a different annotation or background music, rather than putting out informative updates about the game itself. This is when I got suspicious and quickly realized that his main intention was to abuse a positive feedback loop in order to gain revenue and redirect traffic to his Patreon. I'm not sure if this was his plan to begin with or after he started development, as it's no mystery most of the dribbling soy boys that are his audience are attracted to this dreamcore aesthetic like a moth is to a flame. So naturally, Juniper took advantage of this and decided to spam market Daydream to the extreme on YouTube Shorts, which garnered positive results. At this point, I was doubtful any development was taking place, as my feed was flooded with rehashed Daydream spam of his entities floating in empty space, doing fucking nothing, each time with a different song or caption. Everything but promising Daydream updates. I still genuinely think Juniper, shortly after marketing his game, that if he decided to prolong development to pump out shorts, it would prove more profitable short term rather than committing himself to Daydream long term. If you're familiar with Daydream's current state, then you'll know it's nowhere near finished and it's supposed to come out this December, as he's claimed in so many of his shorts. He does the absolute bare minimum to keep his patrons happy by releasing new builds of his crappy demo with minor differences, while spamming what are essentially digital runway clips of his Daydream characters floating around doing fuck all. It should also be noted we barely see any core gameplay in any of the videos he spammed, and walking around in dark empty hallways with a flashlight is just not good enough, Juniper. You might have your young and double-digit IQ soy boy audience convinced, but for the likes of people with a working brain, it's not happening anytime soon, mate. As for the characters he constantly flaunts in his YouTube shorts, the ones that everyone credits Juniper for being really good, well, it turns out they aren't even his. This was something I wasn't even aware of until I saw CutCafe's video. The assets that attracted so much attention to Juniper's game weren't even his in the first place. They're owned by someone called Copico, a user on the Fab Marketplace. CutCafe goes into much more detail in his video, but the point is, he's technically not allowed to use Copico's assets as the main subject to market his own product. Juniper also held a redesign contest in order to avoid infringing copyright, only so that he could sell Copico's asset Carl as a plushie, the only noticeable difference being the socks he was now wearing. What made him think that making a plushie would contribute to Daydream's development? He's attempting to steal someone's idea and profit from it outside of the project. Juniper would then go on to address some of the criticism I made in my video, where I claimed he was in it for the money, which he is, by showing his earnings on YouTube in his The Truth About Daydream video. $440 is not a lot of money, but it's not nothing. However, CutCafe was a lot more analytical than I was when he was doing his research, and it turns out Juniper is making a lot more than what he claims. At the time CutCafe recorded his video, he assumed if everyone who donated to his Patreon were subscribed to his lowest tier, then he'd be making an additional $530 on top of his monthly YouTube revenue, which is $970, definitely more than a pack of M&Ms and a slap on the cheek, as Juniper claims in his video. But now it's present day. He currently has 716 paid subscribers, so that'd translate to $716 if we were to still assume everyone was subscribed to the lowest tier. Don't forget, this is still assuming the absolute bare minimum profits from his Patreon. If we do the math, then that adds up to $1,246. But he leaves all of this information out of his video, so yes, I'd say that Juniper is in it for the money. On the topic of Juniper's The Truth About Daydream video, let me also address his latest upload addressing concerns about Daydream, where he comes out and apologizes for his deceptive behaviour after CutCafe exposed a lot of the shit he was doing, including but not limited to spam marketing, stealing assets, comment marketing, and getting free labour out of his fans by means of contests. It should be considered that had CutCafe not made his video on Daydream, would Juniper even have made an apology? Juniper states at the start of his video, a recent video about the development of Daydream has raised a lot of concerns, before he addresses said concerns and apologizes. But I made a video addressing my concerns about Daydream months before CutCafe's video, and Juniper didn't address shit. Why is that? Instead, he uploaded a poor video response in which he deliberately mimicked my thumbnail and video length in order to mislead people into thinking my original upload was a copy of his video. And seeing as though I only had 1.8k views with around 2,000 subs, and Juniper almost had 200,000, he knew that his video would get at the very least more than mine, which meant my video would eventually get buried, which it did. So when I, a small YouTuber, make a video on Juniper's shady Daydream game, he gets to employ video sniping strategies to bury my video, preventing people from seeing my content and preventing further criticism sent his way. But when CutCafe steps in, it's a different story, as he's a bit more of a heavyweight on YouTube, and I doubt he'd be able to hijack his content with how quickly his video gained momentum, even if Juniper does outrank him in subs. So, it's my opinion that if Juniper could have still gotten away with what he was doing, then he would have. It's only because he got called out by a big YouTuber did he have to apologize in order to salvage the situation. It would have been extremely difficult to do what he did with my video to CutCafe's, given the amount of traction it has already gained in such a short time. Hundreds of thousands of people have seen his video already, a lot more compared to mine, so he had no choice but to apologize. This tells me that Juniper didn't give a shit about what he was doing, instead only that he got caught. Mark my words, he would have kept doing what he was doing if he could have gotten away with it. His apology isn't sincere, it's mere damage control to stop his audience from boycotting Daydream altogether. That's it. It should also be noted that I was never aware of this until CutCafe mentioned it in his video, so thanks for pointing that out. I did notice he copied my thumbnail, but I honestly just thought this was due to his lack of creative mind, which should be no surprise to anyone at this point. This to me is just standard Juniper behaviour. He never had any original ideas to begin with. That's why I guess he copied my thumbnail. I mean, just look at all the ideas he siphons from his audience with every YouTube short. Not to mention, we now know most of his implied original characters are fab assets belonging to Copico. So I wasn't really surprised that he copied my thumbnail, but because of that, it went over my head what his true intentions were at the time. However, Juniper also states he will no longer be using Copico's assets due to all the recent backlash. This includes Helio, Carl, and Node.
And moving forward, we are focusing exclusively on original ideas. I've reached out to the original creator of these assets to clarify the situation with them, and we're working fully on only original models now, like Deadlight.
Which is a step in the right direction, so I'll give him that. Cool. Then he says everyone who helped with the game will be credited, while also stating that no more community polls or contests will take place, and everything will be coming from the team now.
And everyone who helps will be credited in the in-game credits. Going forward, we will also not be doing any community polls or contests anymore, and everything will come directly from the team, as I've seen a lot of concerns about that.
Another thing I wanted to point out, Juniper was also working on another game called Fruitiger Aero, which for some reason was uploaded on a completely different Steam account to that of Daydream. CutCafe gets into a lot more detail in his video on all of this, but the point is that on the same Steam account he has a store page for Fruit de Aero, there also exists another game, Animal Tracker. Now, since CutCafe's video came out, lots of people have been asking Juniper in his comments, what is Animal Tracker, or alluding to it in one way or another. We know Juniper and at least one other person worked on Animal Tracker, and for whatever reason the team fell through, and they went their separate ways. Juniper, despite having Animal Tracker on the same account as Fruit de Aero, denies having any affiliation with the game or developer, even though CutCafe uncovered a video in which you can hear Juniper showcasing Animal Tracker to a panel of judges when he was at the Indie Game Academy.
I want you to take a little listen to this clip.
Towards small floating rocks located around the island.
Notice anything familiar? How about if we put them side by side?
For the player to follow along with and really immerse themselves into.
I was like, I don't think I can continue this for the next 2 years after the game's out.
This is our guy.
I would also really like to clarify that I have no affiliation with the game Animal Tracker. The developer and I have nothing shared in common, and I just really hope that they don't get roped into this because they seem like a very hard worker and they're always posting their work.
I just want to know why he outright lies about not knowing anything about Animal Tracker. You can't just deny it, Juniper. Did you even watch the full video? You do realise you're digging yourself a bigger hole for no reason. The evidence is undeniable. Why lie about something so trivial unless there's something to hide? Originally, I wasn't even going to mention Animal Trackers until you lied about it in your video. On top of his half-assed apology, which is not even sincere to begin with, and lying about Animal Tracker for no apparent reason, he dribbles shit for the rest of his video, making more promises that will most likely be broken in the future anyway. His apology lasted 2 minutes of the whole duration of his 11-minute video, and moves on like nothing happened. Proceeds to show a bunch of shit that is of zero substance for the remainder of the video, assuming that it will give us hope for Daydream, and has the nerve to put the caption "fixing my mistakes" in the thumbnail. Who believes this shit? You didn't fix shit, you've made it worse. And now Juniper has stated in the comment section of his recent short that Daydream will soon be under new management as soon as he finds the right person for the job. By the way, Juniper, in what way are you qualified to choose the next manager of Daydream when you're clearly devoid of the skills yourself? He made it clear that he wasn't abandoning the project, so I'd imagine he'll somehow still be profiting from all this somewhere. It's clear he couldn't handle the criticism and just wants someone else to be the fall guy when Daydream happens to flop again. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I mainly wanted to talk about his insincere apology and how he tried covering up my first Daydream video to negate any criticism. But yeah, any hope I had for Daydream before is now completely fucking gone. Let me be the first to say it, it's not out of the ordinary for me to have missed some important things, which I probably have, but if you want an in-depth analysis of Daydream and everything surrounding Juniper, just go watch CutCafe's video. I'll leave a link in the description. I'll more than likely post updates on Daydream in my YouTube community posts if anything interesting happens. Apart from that, I don't have much more to say about this steaming pile of shit, so here's a compilation of all the recent comments on the Daydream channel that gave me a chuckle. Yep, thanks for all the continued support, and thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?